Guys, it is Marcus here on this wonderful Thursday morning, and today we are here with Terry. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing well.
Cool. If you guys can hear Terry okay, let me know by typing something in the box. And we're going to get started today with letter number 13 about alcoholics, cultural conditioning, and brainwashing. Sounds mysterious. So I'll start by reading the letter, and then we'll dive right in and discuss what we read. If you guys have questions along the way, feel free to type them in the box. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know how you're doing, and let us know how we can help you stay sober and get sober if you're on that. Now, remember, throughout this call, we got some opinions and things, and I want you guys to know that we are not doctors, trained professionals, or anything like that. We're just two sober dudes trying to help people one person at a time with the experiences that we've had in our sobriety journey. So let's dive right in and go through letter number 13, brainwashing, cultural conditioning, and mind control. This letter starts out, Dear friend, okay, I admit it. This letter sounds like it's going to be all about some conspiratorial mind craziness where I tell you that the president is an alien and we're all just batteries in a vault powering an endless supply of oil and alien oil drinking weirdos. Don't worry, it's not that dramatic, but it is a little bit out there because you see, from the time we're born, we learn. Wow, rocket science, Marcus. Wow, how'd you come up with that? I could just stop reading the letters now and be sober with that gem of wisdom, right? Just hear me out. So when we're born, we learn everything we know. When we cry, we get fed or changed or held or whatever. It's our first way we learn to communicate, and some very intuitive moms out there can actually tell what is needed just by the sound of a baby's cry. Pretty cool, right? From that time on, we take social cues from people around us and our environment. Everyone says things like, hey, he's so funny when we do something, so we do it again. And we find out, hey, this works. And we like the feedback. And soon enough, I'm known as Marcus the funny person, or he's so needy, or sensitive, or whatever label everyone puts on us. We never stop to question the labels because they've been with us so long it's hard to remember a time when we didn't have them. As time goes on, we fit into the new roles. For me, it was Marcus the businessman, or Marcus the success guy, or even Marcus the alcoholic, or whatever it is. And like a good little boy, I accepted these names based on cues from the outside world without question. Am I a businessman because I want to be, or because others look at me that way? Is this something I consciously choose and set out to be, or a role I fell into based on the cues around me? Stay with me here. It's about to get good. What about the role of Marcus the alcoholic? I remember times my wife would get mad and say I had too many, and my dad would say, son, you're an alcoholic. You better go meet Jesus, boy. And the last thing I wanted to do was admit I was an alcoholic and accept his version of the little capitalist baby Jesus who died so he could be right about his opinions, have a submissive wife, and save money. And the last thing I ever wanted to admit was that I was an alcoholic. Why? Because that was it. Once I uttered those words, boom, I can't sneak away and have a drink, because now it's a relapse, and those are really bad. So bad I even heard that some people never make it back. I wanted to keep drinking, so this was hard to accept the name of an alcoholic. It's like saying, Marcus, the one thing you think is keeping you alive and sane and not killing yourself is alcohol. And now they want that too? What the hell? But I never really stopped to really question what that meant, because I had become lockstepped into my role. And the funny thing about these roles is the big long list of meanings that we give them, and what we think they mean, and what we think others think they mean. I can't just be Marcus the dad. That also has to mean I need a house, cars, money in the bank, a briefcase, slippers, security, the whole 9 yards. I can't just be Marcus the husband. I need to be the provider, the lover, affectionate, keep my wife free of all disruptions in life, etc. Or I can't just be Marcus the businessman. I need to prove my worth to the world and make a bunch of money. Or I can't just be Marcus the Bible believer. I have to stand on the street corner and convince you to repent too. And on it goes. What roles are you being bound by? Did you ever stop to think, perhaps I don't want this role anymore? Or perhaps you're just living by deeper roles that you assign to yourself. Poor Marcus, he gets stepped on by everyone. No one really loves him, and that's why he drinks. He's had a hard life. Just look at how sad he is. That Marcus boy works hard all day, and no one really understands what he does. He's so unappreciated. Even his wife secretly thinks he's a joke. Poor housewife. She works and slaves all day, cleaning messes and driving kids around, and her husband won't even look at her. She's a basket case, and no one cares about Mom. No wonder she drinks wine every night. Poor guy, he came from a broken home. His parents abused him. He has an eating disorder, depression, mental illness. He just never seems right. These are the roles. These roles just happen to be... where'd we go? These roles just happen to be where we find ourselves and what we tell ourselves about what they mean. It's like when I first entered therapy. I had this crazy therapist who liked to overdiagnose everything she saw. Like she was some magic genie of psychological letters and you have OCD and PTSD and ADD and whatever the hell was the flavor of the week. Sometimes I even pretended symptoms. And she would get all excited and come up with new things. I'm kind of sinister like that when I get bored. But one time in the middle of therapy, my therapy monologue, I had just had one of my head twitches. It was pretty noticeable. Now, I knew this was just some bullshit I did physically to shake off a topic, and I could stop it. I haven't done it in about 2 times since I got sober, mostly out of habit. But she got all excited, and a huge smile came across her face, like she saw a real gosh darn lunatic. And every time she came up with a new diagnosis, with a new word, I would go look it up, fit it to my symptoms, and prove to myself why I did or did not have it. After that meeting, my twitching got 100 times worse. Kind of interesting. Just another thing to drink about, right? Life is like that. As humans, we are seeking order and structure to make things make sense. So we find patterns and give them names. You get jittery in crowds. You feel your heart race. Can't sit still? You must have anxiety. Now it has a name. Well, oh boy, now that it has a name, you're off to the races. And now it's as if anxiety is ruling your life. Before, you just had normal symptoms that you could probably ignore, but don't ignore them. Go to a doctor if it's something to worry about. But now, oh man, heart beats fast. It's not the 2 pots of coffee I had. It's the anxiety. It's everywhere. It's taking over the world. And now, you can't function. They even make little groups where people who accept a certain label can go and talk to other people who accepted the same level. We are the anxiety sufferers. We have depression. We are the alcoholics. And it makes us feel good because now someone gets us. That could be a good thing. Friendship and camaraderie is very good. And it's missing in our culture of garage doors, dinner in front of the TV, political correctness, and meaningless chitter-chatter. It's like if you walked up to someone and said more than hello, they would flip out thinking you're a crazy person or something. All because of a label, an imaginary fear sewn into our hearts by the media, friends, family, you name it. When did we become this culture of eggshell walkers with poles up our ass so tight we can't just be open, free, and honest? It's like everyone is sitting at the card table and no one wants to call because we all know we're all bluffing and we don't have jack shit for a hand. This is known as the in-group versus out-group bias, where people stake their identity on how they are, not like the other group. Us alcoholics are different. We stick to the book. Those alcoholics are crazy. They can't possibly get results. Or those guys voted for President whoever. We like Senator Take Your Wallet. And we put meanings to what that means to us. If they voted for Senator Take Your Wallet, that means they are bad. Kill kittens and secretly want communist people to invade us. Which, by the way, I do like that guy. And it's all a bunch of silly rhetoric to distract us from the fact that in reality, life isn't all that bad. Did you ever meet the life is hard guy? Or perhaps you are him or her. I was that guy for a long time. Life is hard, work is hard, I can't get ahead no matter what. And I lived by this set of rules, proving them right any chance I could by screwing things up and drinking and screwing things up even more and drinking even more because life was hard and I got dealt a bad hand. But the truth is, sure, some things were bad in the past. Some things can even seem hard now. The secret is to realize that all those labels we put on things are defining and creating our perception of what reality is. Hear me out for a second. I know this is a little different. Right now, where you sit, if you're sober, that helps too. If not, you're probably not following my directions, or you got to read these sober. So before your morning vodka or wine or booze or whatever, read my letters. If you have not been drinking or are sober, props, my hat's off to you, because I know how hard that can be. If you're still drinking, that's normal too. You wouldn't be an alcoholic if quitting was simple, right? But where you sit right now, things are okay. You're breathing. There are good places on earth to live. You have choices. You are getting better and learning if you accept it as so. It's like this. For the past few weeks, I have been inside most of the time because of my cold, and I work from home. But sometimes I like to go outside, and today I went outside and it was like everything was new. I forgot about the little squirrels who jump around in the yard, and the birds and the trees, and the fact that I can experience everything in a real vivid manner. In those moments, everything's okay. Pretty darn good, even. Now, I can dwell on the fact that those damn squirrels dig up my yard and the bird went in my office and shit on the floor, or how much money I didn't make, or how my wife nagged me to death because I like cigars and she hid them from me. True story. And I used to get an ego blow to this. Who is she to take my cigars? Damn it, I'm 39 years old and I suck poison in my face all day if I want. Perhaps I'll have 10 a day or 20. That shows you when I'm dead, you'll be sorry. And I live my life all about proving my place. Another label. I was willing to live completely miserable because of a fucking label. I never stopped to think, who am I really? Aside from the labels, aside from the mental illness alphabet soup, who is this Marcus Campbell? I used to think I was going crazy and wonder what was wrong with me and what was wrong with my mind. And I set out to try to find my mind. I looked and I looked and I searched deep and I read books. I meditated. I went to therapy. Where was this mind everyone was talking about so I could fix my damn brain? Over time, as if by magic, I realized that my mind is not me. My mind is what my brain does. And the problem with our society is it takes our mind so serious, and our mind doesn't even really exist. Oh, sure, there's a brain, no question about that. But a mind? What the hell does that even mean anyway? In Sanskrit, the ancient language, it's called the buddhi, I believe, if I said it right. Probably didn't. And all the definitions are things like point of view, judgment, comprehension, idea, mental attitude, intuition, judgment. These are the definitions in that ancient language of the word mind. And all these things are what the brain does. Have you ever heard the phrase, change your mind? Kind of curious, isn't it? Can I really change my mind? And then we have beliefs which also control our mind and our thinking. A belief, or a pratati, I think I said it right, in Sanskrit means conviction, confidence, faith, going towards. These are a lot deeper than just thoughts. A label can be just a thought. Oh, well, perhaps I'm a little narcissistic at times. Ha ha ha, brush off that thought. A belief, I am a narcissist, is a whole different thing because now I have the conviction that I am self-absorbed, that it's a bad thing, and then I move towards understanding and embodying narcissism. And it gets all messed up and convoluted, and I can't find my way out. You see, a belief can be a very dangerous thing. In the old days, if someone was a scientist and did something that others couldn't explain, perhaps she was passed off as a witch or burned to death. Or perhaps someone believes that God does not like a certain set of people, the out-group. Glad I'm not like them. And now you have all this prejudice. And truth be told, a narcissist is just a word, and people are just people. But we can put them into categories and that makes us belief. And that makes beliefs and changes everything. This is known as the categorical imperative, which is an unconditional moral obligation that is binding in all circumstances and is not dependent on a person's inclination or purpose. So that means that some of these beliefs we have are so deep and ingrained that they're really hard to move, and you will act on them. Like if you believe that life is hard and you need to drink to take the edge off, or you believe that money will make you happy, or that God is mad when you do X, Y, or Z, or that something is wrong with you and you're crazy, these are where things go wrong, because every day your mind is receiving millions and millions of pieces of data, all from those sensors in your mind and in your body. And now you're trying to place all that data into categories and label them and put them in a nice little box. If I believe that all people are bad and out to get me, then I could meet Mother Teresa and I'll probably find something wrong with her. And if there isn't anything, I'll make up something. She's prideful or whatever. Now, just to fit into my data and my neat little box so that it makes sense of the world, my views, and my beliefs. Once you have these beliefs, it's kind of hard to change them, but it can be done. If a brain can be washed, it can also be unwashed. If a mind can be changed, it can also be unchanged. How, you ask? Through deliberate brainwashing in the other direction. The same way as before, but reversed. I'm going to teach you how to do this in a really cool way with affirmations, readings, tapes, and things that will stretch your mind and beliefs in a way like never before. I remember first working on this in my own sobriety, and I would listen to a talk every night about something different, something that challenged my current worldview that was coming apart at the seams and no longer working for me. These new ideas would blow my mind out, stretch my thinking in ways like never before. And as time went on, I got a lot happier. Life started to work for me in ways I never dreamed before. And I totally forgot I was an alcoholic because I no longer needed to dwell on the fact that I couldn't drink because I no longer wanted to drink. I saw the problems drinking caused me and how it slipped me into insanity, craziness, suicide thoughts, and misery. I don't want another glass of insanity. I don't want to go back there. One last thought before we go, and I'll pick up on this topic again tomorrow. Have you ever noticed in sobriety, people complain about how much money they don't have? Like right now, look at the current climate in USA. The current climate in the U.S. is to look at billionaires who get tax breaks and get them to pay their fair share. Now, I'm all for making taxes fair. I like that idea. But I want you to look at what this does to the mind. You can have a guy like me perfectly happy with all he has. Outside, watching the birds, watching the squirrels. Show a few commercials with fancy cars. Listen to political people talk about how bad it is and how good other people have it. And pretty soon, you're going to think you live in poverty. But 10 minutes ago, you were totally happy with what you had. Now you're sad and depressed because some new data came in and you put it in one of those categories and it bummed you out. You may have made labels about your financial state and formed new beliefs and everything. And don't we do this all the time with alcohol? What do you believe alcohol is doing for you, and what's the truth? Because you may be like the guy sitting in his house with the cars and great food and a lovely family, unable to enjoy it because you believed what the TV told you, that it's not enough, that you're empty and you're not happy. But I don't think that's true. I think you can be happy, and you don't need another drink to fill whatever it is someone told you in your life. Excuse me. You are missing out on. What you are looking for the whole time is you. Tomorrow we'll pick up in part 2 and learn what a you is. I'm assuming you still have your ass, so don't drink even if it falls off tomorrow. Good night. Love, Marcus. All right.
Right on.
Cool. You want to go over some thoughts about that, and we'll take some questions?
Sure, yeah. So if you're watching, definitely make some comments. We'd like to hear from you and get your perspective on this letter. Helps us a lot, and hopefully we can give you some of our perspective as well. This letter kind of epitomizes the way I was and how I acted when I was in my active alcoholism. I mean, I actually knew I was an alcoholic, and I didn't want to really admit it to others because I knew that I'd have to stop drinking. That's what Marcus is kind of talking about in the beginning of the letter. But, you know, as my drinking escalated, people, well, actually my wife would start to question me about like how much I was drinking and how often I was drinking. So really my solution for me was because I wanted to keep drinking and I knew that if I called myself on it, I'd have to cut down. So I just started to hide my drinking. And, you know, a couple of times I'd get caught and I'd have to come up with some sort of a lie or whatever and get away with it. And that would just make me hide my drinking even more. And that would make my priority in life just drinking when I could and making sure nobody knew I was drinking. And it was all because I didn't want to quit. I enjoyed what alcohol was doing for me. Marcus talks about how alcohol was or how his life he had to assume these roles in life, like Marcus the businessman and stuff. I worked for a big hotel corporation, and I was a chef. And when you're a chef in a big hotel, you know what you do is you work hard and you get promoted, and you keep getting promoted. And you know, I remember I was in this banquet kitchen. We do banquets up to like 7,000 people. I was assuming my role. I did a great job. I loved it there. I get promoted because that's what all my friends do. They in fact, I followed right along the steps with a friend of mine that was like one step ahead of me through mine and his whole career. And you know, I started to not like my role anymore. I went from running banquets and serving food to being, you know, managing all these people that were doing this, and I didn't like it. And I had to assume this role. I wanted to get away from this role. I hated it, so I'd drink to quell those bad feelings. It's just kind of, I was just following what everybody did, and I thought that was what was going to make me happy, and it didn't. Marcus talks about his therapy and how he was given labels and he'd follow along with those. And I remember I went to therapy years and years ago. I didn't do therapy that much, but I remember the therapist said, "I'm a victim of benign neglect." And, benign neglect is basically my parents let me do whatever the hell I wanted. So that was my benign neglect. But
that was a good thing when I was a kid. It's like, yes.
And I don't know, all these things I'm talking about may or may not have been a cause of my alcoholism. Who knows? But, it just shows how we do become victims of our situation and our cultural conditioning. And it does define, it doesn't necessarily define who we are, but it definitely is part of our personality. So that's my perspective on this letter. It's a great letter. It really brings things home.
Cool. Yeah, that's I was very big on labels. I like to study. I like to read about different psychological stuff. I was like dissociative, identity disorder, schizophrenia, all these different things. And, there's a place for them because obviously, if someone needs help, we need to get them help. Go to the doctor, get some help. And if there's something you really can't shake out of, go to the doctor, get some help. But I noticed in my life, like with anxiety, anxiety only became a big thing when I found out I had anxiety, right? Like before that, I was just like a little hyper kind of dude. And now I get anxiety, and it's like whatever. I just live with it. It's there, It's probably excitement or anxiety or whatever it is just there, and it's not a big deal. But before, what would happen is I get these feelings in my body of jitteriness or whatever, and it probably didn't help that I had coffee and alcohol and kind of like juggled the two throughout the day. Too much alcohol, have a little coffee. Too much coffee, have a little alcohol. And I would have these feelings in my body, and then I would immediately be like, wow, I have anxiety. Why am I anxious? Well, I'm anxious because of this. Well, why are you like that? Well, you're like that because you're fucked up in the head. Okay, well, why am I screwed up in the head? Well, all these things that happen to me, and it would be this big cycle. And what I find is that for me, and a lot of people I've talked to, alcohol makes you unable to shut that off. It makes you unable to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even now, I mean, I've been sober 4.5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And we look at that, and even now, like the other day, I went on a job interview. I was interviewing someone to be my writer, and I get anxious at these. Even though I'm the interviewer, I still am probably more anxious than the interviewee. And so I go there, and I order a decaf. She pours me a regular, which is like bad for me. And I notice that I'm jittery throughout the day, and my thoughts start to race towards negative. Right, and I noticed that it kind of like took away the buffer because it made me so fast that I couldn't like stop and say, hey, wait a minute. But luckily through sobriety, I've learned, you know what, my thoughts are going to go down there. I don't need to give them meaning because they don't mean anything. Like if I think, hey, I want to, say something stupid, it doesn't mean I'm stupid. It just means there's chemical impulses in the brain. Like the coffee, it was controlling the brain. It's going to make things happen. If you watch a TV show about like cartoons slapping each other in the face, and then like you watch a show about old ladies and you see an old lady, you might think, oh, slap the old lady. It's just chemical imbalances. It doesn't mean you're a terrible person who wants to do these things. It's just your brain linking things together. And you got to realize that we have so much stimulus every single day. Your brain's trying to make sense and put things into categories. This is why we have the categorical imperative, because it makes life easy. We don't want to sit there and be like, wow, there's 12 blades of green grass and there's one brown one. What does that mean? We don't want to do that. We're just like, there's the yard, right? That's the box we put that in, the yard. In our life, we can start to put things in a general box. This is the way that my brain thinks. So what? I'm not acting on it. Not bad. So what? I don't need to entertain it. Back then, I needed to entertain the thoughts. I needed to say, why am I like this? Why do I think this way? And then I would prove it right. Why do I think terrible things? Well, that's because of this, this, and this. Wow, I'm a terrible person. And it goes down the cycle instead of, I think terrible things because all this stimulus is coming at me and I had coffee, and that's what the brain does.
You got on the negative spiral. And you
Exactly.
started reinforcing your negative thoughts with more negative thoughts, and that's sobriety. Just we try to change that in sobriety. We try to there's different tools we can use. Like gratitude is one where wake up in the morning and like when you used to when you did go outside after being sick and you actually appreciated the squirrels, and just little simple things can help. It may not solve that negative spiral, but it can definitely help. And then understanding what you just said, understanding that these thoughts, we don't have to act on these thoughts. Yeah, I hear a lot of people say you're not responsible for your first thought, but your second thought and the way you react. There's some truth to that, and but even your second thought, third thought, they could be negative, they could be destructive. But trying to just understanding that that's all they are, chemical impulses. We don't have to act on them.
Exactly. And it's just when you look at like, I used to think that I was my brain. Like, I thought I was the sum of my thoughts. And the worst thing I learned, I grew up in a churchy family. And in our churches, they were very dogmatic, very opinionated, and they knew everything. I mean, there was nothing you could teach these boys. And they would say things like the verse that says, take every thought captive, as if there's a war going on in our brain and we have to fight all these thoughts because the devil's in your brain or whatever they think it is. But it's just chemical impulses. Another one was, what was it? As a man thinketh, so is he, right? And it's like, are you what you think about? I doubt it. Right? There's people who think about video games all day. Are they a video game? Like, I don't see Mario walking around bashing bricks with his head anywhere, right? That's not true, right? We are not our brain. We are not the sum of our thoughts. We're not even the sum of what's been done to us or what we've been done to others. We're much more than that. So, yeah, hopefully that helps. But, cool.
Right. So some of the comments here, I can't really comment on a couple of them because I don't know what Krishnamurti is. Do you?
Jiddu Krishnamurti is a philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
He was big in the 60s. I don't think he's alive anymore. He was really old in the 60s, so I highly doubt it. But he does a lot of philosophy talks about the mind, the brain, the way that we're conditioned, Eastern mythology, I think it would be. Really good stuff. I've listened to him quite a bit. He's got some good books out there. J. Krishnamurti's Notebook is also very good. And what I'll do is I'll put together a list of books, and I'll get you guys a link somewhere. What we'll do, we'll put it at talksober.com/books. It's not up right now, but I'll try to put it together today or tonight. And I'll put a list of all the books that I read and I recommend, and some audio resources and things like that as well. But he's a great speaker.
Right on. Sachin says that'd be wonderful. So
Cool.
For me too. Excellent.
Awesome.
V. Viotti said with medications for anxiety, it became a disaster every 6 months increase. Psychiatrists are evil. I stopped taking, and only in 6 months of hell without meds, I finally felt my own normal self. Alcoholic. So you're saying that even you realize that you're an alcoholic after you came off the meds? That's kind of what I'm getting out of that. But yeah, well, that's it's good that you recognized it, and hopefully you're doing something about it. I don't know about the psychiatrists. I think they have their place, and a lot of people need the psychiatry and they need outside help, and I would never discourage that. People should take it, should take whatever outside help they can get, but at the same time they got to be smart about it too, and understand what their own problem is, and deal with their problems in an honest way. But,
and get lots of advice.
Yep.
Don't just go to a psychiatrist. Go to a doctor too.
Yep.
Don't just go to a therapist. Go to a psychiatrist too. Don't go to a lot of things and then put together what works for you. because you got to find what works for you. Like, that is your job, and you got to really look at that and focus and say, hey, you know what? This is me. This is my life. And really look at your thoughts and look at what's going on, because I know some people that, you know, they didn't take the advice of a psychiatrist and they're no longer here, which sucks. So sometimes a chemical imbalance could be the issue. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to discredit that. But there are good books that talk about these different things as well. And you got to focus on that and say, hey, look, you know what am I going to do to stay sober? And a lot of what happens with alcoholics, they say that they self-medicate or whatever, which, I don't know, call it what you will. I would say self-cope would probably be a better way to say it, because they don't know how to cope with their thoughts because they think their thoughts are real.
Right.
They're like, hey, I think this is real. I think I'm bad because of this. I'm, you know, whatever. And we go down that spiral, and we don't really have to go down that spiral.
Exactly. You know, a lot of the alcoholics I talk to, because I do talk to a lot of alcoholics on daily, a lot of them went to therapy and they just weren't honest about it. Even in their sobriety, they have admitted that they may not have been completely honest about things. And that, I think that's a real important thing, is to be honest with yourself and honest with them. You're not going to get the help if you're not all in and trying to do whatever you can. It's whatever they say. They can't read your mind. It has to be all open-minded approach to it.
Exactly. And when you think about it, it's like, I'm an alcoholic, so what? I used to think that was like a death sentence. I used to think it was like, okay, my days are numbered. I'm an alcoholic. I can't have fun. Life's going to suck. I can't have alcohol that makes me feel better, you know, and life's actually been a lot better the last 4.5 years. Been way better. You know, I was just at a video conference last week, and people were drinking and stuff, and I didn't even care. Like, there was one time I smelled it, and I was like, it's kind of nice, but I didn't care. Like, I had the thought of it's kind of nice, and then I immediately, like, associated it with a hangover, which I was like, no, I'm good. And also the ability to be present, the ability to be where you're at, you know, and the ability to not have your thoughts controlled, because what you're doing is alcohol is controlling your thoughts in a negative way. And if you put more alcohol on negative thoughts, you get more negative thoughts, and it keeps spiraling. And then you watch TV, and it's like the world's going to end, and then you have these thoughts, and then you have this drink, and pretty soon you're a total mess on the floor that police need to come remove from your house, like it was with me. And if you think about it, like, how many of you guys look at me and you're like, okay, he's kind of crazy, but it seems like he's doing all right, right? Think about that. Just 4.5 years ago, because of alcohol, I was unable to function. I was suicidal. I was miserable. I was an absolute wreck. I would be unable to pick myself up off the floor, right? And you look at the difference. It's the same person, right? Like, I didn't, like, go through some, like, weird brain stuff. I just changed my thoughts, and with the aid of not drinking, I was able to realize what was happening. And I was able to say, you know what? I'm not my mind. I'm not every thought, right? And I think that's important.
It is. And then you're talking about when you went to the conference, people are drinking, and, you know, 99.9% of them can have a few drinks and they're fine. But you know what I've noticed when I've gone to parties in sobriety is, you know, everybody's about on an equal mental level in the beginning, and as the night goes on, then they kind of deteriorate in their mental level. And, you know, after a few years of sobriety myself, I've started to learn when it's time to leave those events or parties or whatever where people are drinking and they're there to have more than just one or two. And you start to have this edge, and, well, I don't know if I'd say that it's, you do kind of have a mental edge because they are suppressing their thoughts, but yeah, it just becomes time to leave sometimes. And you're at a business conference, and I'm sure that helps you immensely.
Oh, totally,
the one thing you mentioned that's real important is that you went to this conference, and it wasn't that you were staying away from the alcohol or that you had to consciously avoid the alcohol. it was there, and that's it. It's just a non-factor anymore. That's where we're trying to get people is get to where alcohol, it's just not an issue. And that's the way I am too. It's not an issue anymore. And that's an important thing. I mean, if I had to fight alcohol for the rest of my life, I'm sure I would lose. And so that's the one of the most important ways to be, is that perspective of it. It's just nothing to me anymore.
Yeah, and so. It was funny because the hotel, the elevators come down, and the bar was like the lobby. Like, it was a big circle bar, and you had to walk around it to go to the conference. You had to walk around it to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to leave your hotel room, you were going by a bar, and that's where everyone hung out at night. And I found that it wasn't even a struggle. Like, I didn't feel bad about not wanting a drink or not having a drink. I actually got my tonic waters all night, and she was like, "We don't even charge you for them since you're not drinking." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Saved myself, $5 each or whatever.
Right on.
And I was present. I was able to listen to people, take people in. And learn a lot. And, I remember when I used to drink, I would be the first one to be gone, right? I'd just be out of it. In the morning, I would have to drink. So I would have had 4 or 5 before I even went to the conference. I wouldn't have been able to get work done, wouldn't have been able to meet great people that I met, because I just couldn't handle it. It threw my thoughts for a loop. And that's what I believe people mean when they say the old thing of the man takes a drink, then the drink takes a drink, then the drink takes the man, which is saying, hey, look, when you have the first drink, it might sound good, it might sound fine. I probably could have had a drink at that conference. Might have been okay, might have not. But I know what happens with my mind, and after that first drink gets in me, my mind's going to start to think, well, you had a drink, you probably relapsed, might as well go full force, might as well have a bunch. Or it's going to go and it's going to think something negative, and it's going to go negative. And what happens is that little drink is putting your brain a little tweaked so you can no longer take control of those things. And while you think it might be an innocent little drink, it's really not, because it's tweaking your thoughts enough to where you can't be a level up, right? It's kind of like when I look at things spiritually, it's like there's a level up where it's like I am looking at everything as a whole. Here I am. I got this. I'm Marcus. I have this. I'm Marcus. I do this. I think like this. Here's what's going on. But what happens is when you drink, your level drops down, and now you're embodying and you're living in the problems, right? And if you live in the problems, you can't find solutions for them. That's why an alcoholic, it's so hard for them to break out of it, because they're living in the problem of alcoholism. And they need to be taken out and say, look, here's what's going on. And that's why I'm such a big believer in education, is this is what's going on.
Right.
And if we can see that, maybe go into that. Like, what was that like for you? Was there a time when you kind of like hovered over your life and you were like, okay, here's what's going on. I need to be out of it, and here's how to get out of it?
Oh, absolutely. That was the crux of my alcoholism. These problems were starting to mount, and I couldn't figure out a way out, and I would go head on onto these problems, except for the stopping drinking part of it. I would continue to drink. I'd drink at these problems. I'd come home from work and I need a drink, or 6 or 10, and eventually I lost a job, and I didn't lose a job. I quit the job. So looking back on it, I realized that I quit the job so I could drink more. But when I quit the job, I'm like, nah, you know what? I can go be a server at a different hotel and make $50 an hour, because that's what those union hotels pay a server with their gratuities and stuff. And I could do that tomorrow, but I don't feel like I'm going to do that. I don't want to do that yet. I'll do that soon. And I'll go do that. And that was it. I'd live in the problem. Then I'd drink more in that situation. And then I was gaining weight. I was becoming pre-diabetic. I had high blood pressure, and I'm going to start working out soon, maybe tomorrow. And I'd think about that. I'd look it up on the internet, what all this, even my alcohol problem. I searched the internet constantly, about alcoholism and alcohol, ways that I could quit without getting help. That's what I was trying to do. Is, I don't want anybody to know, and I definitely don't want to ask anybody to help me, because I got this. Which obviously it didn't work until I got help. But that was just the alcoholism kept me in that problem. When I quit alcohol, I didn't have to work on these problems head on. Once I started working on the proper mindset, the positive attitude, trying to maybe dealing with the problems here and there, but dealing with the problems in a small step-by-step way, just like alcohol, just like my drinking problem, and things started to get better, and they got better quicker and quicker and quicker. And things are pretty good now. Perfect? No, of course not. That's life. Life is not perfect, but it worked out. It's good. Being sober is awesome.
It is. And I think that's why a lot of people need outside help, because they're in the problem. And oftentimes we can't fix the problem within the problem, especially if we keep drinking, because that's just adding insult to injury, or whatever they say, which is important. You got to look at that and say, how can I take myself out of the problem? How can I get myself above this and look down at it? Because like if you're living in a busy city, you get caught up in the city. You get caught up in running from here to there. You get caught up in going from here. But if you were to like be on a plane, you look down and you're like, man, I could see everything. And that's kind of what it's like when you're sober. You're like, okay, I could see everything. It's not a big deal. Stuff happens. Like there's some lady trying to cross the road. Here's, a little fender bender. You see all the stuff from above, and it's not so big. But if you're down there and you get in the fender bender, oh shit, man, my new car, fender bender, goddamn, why'd you stop at the light? Whatever.
Right.
But as a sober person, I realize that stuff doesn't really matter anymore. It's like, okay, everyone's safe, everyone's okay, we're good, and you got to look at it that way. A couple other questions coming in, if you want to take those.
Well, somebody asked, have we ever heard of naltrexone? So I was just looking it up real quick, and it's because I don't. Maybe you've heard of it. It's a medication primarily used to manage alcohol or opioid dependence. Yeah.
Is that the one that makes you sick when you drink or use?
No, that starts with an A.
Okay.
I think.
Antabuse. Yeah, you're right.
Antabuse, yeah.
Naltrexone, no, I haven't tried it. I think my brother tried it, and it wasn't successful for him. I don't know if he did it like good or not. But I think what's going to happen with a drug like that to try to curb the cravings or whatnot, it might help for a time, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. Like, as you see, me and Terry aren't just talking about alcohol.
Right.
It's not like alcohol just jumped in our mouth and we were like, man, I just got to have it. We had to have it because of other issues that made us had to have it. So I believe that, getting away and understanding what's going on and really looking at your life and saying, why are these things such a big deal to me? Why do I have to drink when my spouse yells at me? Why do I have to drink when I lose a job? Why do I have to drink when this happens? Why can't I just live? Why can't I be grateful? Like they say, gratitude or grateful never relapses or something like that. And it doesn't. Like if you're grateful, you're not sitting there saying, I have to have a drink. So kind of important. Exactly.
What we've been showing in these letters, these letters, if you really look at the meat of the letters, a fairly low percentage of the letters is about alcohol. It's about changing the mindset and how we go through life with a sober mindset. That's really what it's all about. And that's why I don't believe a drug is going to help. I don't think I know they haven't developed a drug that cures alcoholism. There's things that might be prescribed, maybe that naltrexone or however it's pronounced, maybe it would be something that might help, but that would be, I don't know. I mean, I was given, I forgot what the medicine's called, but I was given something to help me with the detox so that I wouldn't seize. But really, it's this alcoholism. It's not a disease of just the body, and that's what it sounds like the naltrexone is doing. Is it's helping curb cravings in the brain, And really, it's a disease of the mind and the body. And they haven't figured out a pill that's going to take care of that yet.
Yeah.
Maybe they will someday, but it's a complicated disease. You know,
Yeah.
it's a unique disease. This alcoholism is the only disease where you yourself, you really have to help with the diagnosis. Other people can point to you and tell you that you're an alcoholic and that you need treatment, but it's going to be a rare case. It gets better unless that person actually gets active and realizes that they're an alcoholic and starts to be active and responsible for their own sobriety. It's an important thing.
Yeah, and it's again, it's not going to deal with the core issues. You'll find something else, whether it's like, work or whatever you get addicted to. It's gonna be something, because it is a mind thing. I find that a lot of us that get addicted have OCD. That's basically what alcoholism is an obsession of the mind and a compulsion in the body to drink. Because the compulsion takes away the mind. You're like obsessing over something, you get your relief. Obsess, get your relief. And it's like pushing a button. It's like when they put rats in a cage and they give them alcohol or a drug or something, they're going to push the button until they die. They won't even eat. Why? Because it's obsessive compulsive. They have to have that feeling. And we're chasing a feeling, or not having feelings, as it were. And we look at it and it's like, what if we just sat there in it? What if you just had to deal with all your feelings all your life? They're not going to kill you. Alcohol probably will, but your feelings won't. So it's not that big a deal. Yeah, Sachin, I did read about the Netflix addiction in India, which is kind of interesting. Yeah.
So the question about that really is that addiction the way is it an addiction like alcoholism, where we continue to drink alcohol despite the negative consequences in our life? That must be what it is. So they're watching movies and they have bills to pay, so they're not going to work, and they keep watching more movies, and it gets worse and worse and worse. But yep. Okay, well, enough of that addiction. I don't think I have a Netflix addiction, since I don't have Netflix, and I don't really watch too many movies.
Yeah, I like documentaries.
Okay, yeah.
But I think the difference between that, because a lot of people equate different addictions to alcohol and drugs and stuff. I think the difference that stands out between alcohol and drugs is, one, the chemical is actually changing your body and your mind.
Right.
And two, because of that, it changes your mindset, right? So like with a Netflix addiction, you might be able to snap someone out of it and be like, hey, dude, come out here, look at some trees, look at real life, get away from the damn TV. As to where alcoholic, it's a little bit different, because your mindset's tweaked and your body thinks that you need it to live. Right. I don't know if there's anyone that thinks if they don't watch Netflix, they're going to die, but I hope not. I hope our society has not gotten that bad.
Yeah, if you quit something like Netflix, your brain is going to be, you might go through depression or whatever, but you're definitely not going to have any physical withdrawals. You're not going to start seizing.
Yeah. Mark says, I'm also studying a lot about rational recovery. Are you talking about RBT? I forget who it was. Some guy with an A. RBT, rational something therapy. If it's that one, it's okay. I think it's a little surface level, but it is okay. I think there's a lot more going on, and I think that a lot of recovery stuff, when they talked about a spiritual awakening, and I know there's like terrible connotations, like, stop drinking, meet Jesus kind of thing, which isn't the case at all. Like, the spiritual awakening thing is getting in tune with what's spiritual rather than what's physical, because we live in what's physical. Alcohol is a physical disorder. It's like we're physically dependent on it. But if you go up a level and you're like, okay, what about me as a spiritual being? As a spiritual being, I'm not in my thoughts. I'm not needing alcohol. I'm not constantly trying to fill the needs of the body. So by that, I think that's really what needs to happen, as opposed to just, here, do these little things. Like, I saw there were some people using like the 5-second rule, where you count backwards from 5 and you're like, okay, now I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And it's like, I don't think that's going to help with alcoholism. And I think eventually people are going to go pretty crazy with it. I actually did a video on the Naked Mind and Grace book. So if you guys want to see that, that is here on the channel. That guy asked about that book. So yeah. Cool. And we will be putting the letters in the form of a book, which I'll be coming out with. I'm hoping to have it done like a year ago, but hopefully I'll have it done this month or mid next month. And then we will have it available for you guys as well to help support the channel. And also, if you guys like this stuff and you want us to keep going and doing this stuff, check out talksober.com. Click on the, I think it's the Get Started tab. Let me see what it is. And what we've done is we've actually put a lot of the videos in there, a Get Help Now tab. So click on Get Help Now, and then you can fill that out and you can join. It's like $60 a month, which is less than one bar tab if you're really, you know, drinking it up. So I think it's definitely beneficial. I put some of the videos, and then we also put them in MP3 and PDF format, so you can read them. You can get all the letters now before the book comes out, and you can get MP3s to listen to, which is important, because if I know I'm going somewhere where I'm going to be anxious, like flying on a plane is anxiety-provoking for me, and so I listen to tapes the entire time. You know, that's what I do. All 6 hours to LA last week, listen to tapes. And it helps me. It puts me in the right mind to go do what I need to do. So you guys can listen to us. You can listen to other stuff we have available for you and help support the channel as well. Again, that's talksober.com. Click on Get Help Now, and you can fill that out. Pretty cool.
Right on. Sachin says the website's not mobile friendly. Is that right?
Should be. I checked it on my phone.
I thought it was too.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's a mobile friendly theme.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it just takes the logo off and just puts the content, but I mean, that's normal. So yeah. All right. So any last minute questions? We got about 6 or 7 minutes left.
Right on.
Any topics you guys want us to cover? Is there anything you're like, hey man, you need to cover this because I'm going through it? I'll take it from there.
Yeah, Craven says I didn't take the maltodextrin. So I guess that drug is prescribed to many people to try and get off the get out of the cravings of alcohol. But I don't know. For me, it was just a matter of hitting that bottom and wanting to live more than I wanted to drink, and that's what the case is with a lot of alcoholics. And you know, what we're trying to do is help get people to the point where they can quit before they hit that bottom. That's an important thing, to try not to lose everything before you quit.
Cool.
It's a difficult thing, but many of us have to do that.
Any tips for co-addiction? Cocaine addiction, or is that what it is? Luke, maybe rephrase that. I'm not sure what you're talking about. It could be co-addiction or cocaine addiction.
It says coca addiction.
Chocolate? Yeah, that's why we want to get clarification, because reprogramming your subconscious mind or reconditioning or something like that. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you guys like that stuff, that's something we can go into more.
Absolutely.
I liked that when I went to rehab, my coach guy was like, hey, I'm going to brainwash you. And at first I was like, what the fuck, dude? You're not going to brainwash me. No way. And then I was like, wait a minute. I get it. That makes sense. So it's kind of cool. Cocaine. I've never used cocaine. Have you ever used it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. This might be one for Terry then.
Yeah, but you know, it wasn't a factor in my addiction later. I did back in the 80s, along with everybody else I was involved with. But, you know, Narcotics Anonymous is their program is the same as Alcoholics Anonymous, and really an addiction is an addiction. We focus on alcohol here because just there are subtle differences as far as the detox is concerned, and that's why going to a doctor is super important, because there are differences in alcohol detox, cocaine detox, opiate detox, whatever. But really the solution is the same. You've got to change your mindset, and that's what it's all about. And just learning how to live sober is really that's it. For me, the cocaine, it just kind of dropped off of my life, and I wasn't an active alcoholic at that point, although I may have been drinking alcoholically, but I wasn't physically and mentally dependent on it at that point in my life. And same with that drug, I was able to just stop, and that's what I did. But many people, no, that's not at all the case, and I understand that's a tough drug, definitely. And that one, well, just like alcohol, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the same. An addiction is an addiction as far as a drug or alcohol. That's it. It hits the same part of our brains. It hits the same neurotransmitters, gives us the same endomorphin rush that as our addiction progresses, that we crave more and more, and then we can't find it. We can't get that rush without doing more and more, and eventually we just can't attain it, no matter what. So we just have to get to a maintenance level to keep ourselves, because we need that maintenance level to stay normal.
Yeah.
So yeah. Luke was saying that, yeah, alcohol is my gateway, and yeah, I've talked to a meth addict, and same thing. He's like, I'm fine, I'll stay sober, I won't do any drugs or alcohol, and then I think having a drink is a good idea, and then the next day I'm calling a dealer, and a lot of times that's the case, and I've heard that many times with people, and that's because a drug is a drug, really. That's what alcohol is. It's a drug. And it may not be what your brain wants in the end. So that's why it becomes a gateway.
Yeah. And I think for some people, smoking pot can be a gateway.
Yep.
You have to decide on your own. I don't know where you're at personally. I know for me, I haven't had pot since I've been sober. But I think if I did, I'd probably want booze with it. Like, it's just not enough for me. I gotta have the booze with the pot. So I kind of,
Right.
watch out for stuff like that, and just kind of, learn to live sober. Give yourself a year sober or 90 days sober or something. Figure out, hey, this is what it's like living without it. Let's do this, and you can do it. I mean, go get help with detox at a doctor. And then, start learning a new way of life. And I think you're going to like the new way a lot better than the old way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Parts of me think that, parts of me think I could probably smoke a little pot and I'd be fine. There's part of me that bets that I would make it. And once I start betting on things like that, no, that's just that right there's a red flag. I'm not going to go there.
And is it worth it? Like, to be stupid for 2 hours, it's not worth it to me.
No, not at all.
I'm stupid all day anyway. I don't need an extra 2 hours.
It's stupider.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, you just got to look at that and say, is it worth it? And nowadays, I don't even think you can get the regular stuff we got in high school. It's all some fancy stuff, and it's like, man.
Yep. They got their little names and the different things that they'll do to you, and it's legal in Canada as of yesterday, and legal here in California. Yep.
Yeah, but I don't find a need for it. I like being present and sober, and this kind of thing. So I think we're all good. We will see you guys. Are we doing next week? We are on next week.
Yes.
Cool. So we'll be here next week. I'm going to try to get time to do some more regular videos for you guys. I know I haven't done them in like a year. Definitely want to get back into that. So if you guys have some topic ideas, put them as comments on whatever video you're watching. I know a lot of people like binge watch my stuff, which is cool. I mean, if that helps to get you sober, do it. And check out talksober.com. Click to get started. Join the deal. We'll have everything going. Next week will be Thursday. So Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. What's it for you? 8?
Yep.
8 a.m. Yep. So we'll see you guys then. Stay sober. Read the letters. Check out the site. Watch the videos. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, everybody.